Welcome to this short Steel Joist Institute informational video. Nothing flashy about paint and primer, joist and deck edition. SGI member companies typically use a water-based paint as a protective coating. The joist paint is intended to protect the steel for only a short period of exposure in ordinary atmospheric conditions and shall be considered an impermanent and provisional coating. Paint thickness will vary, but will not be less than 1 mil. With painted joist, in normal circumstances, it takes weeks before any signs of imperfections show up. The joists pictured have been sitting for 3 weeks with no signs of rust or blemishes. Pictures 1 and 2, the joists have set for an extended period of time. You can tell by the faded paint and rust spots that are starting to appear. Picture 3 is what the industry calls black joist, which is unpainted. These joists have been sitting for about a month. Comparing the painted versus unpainted, we see the advantages of having a painted joist when exposed to the elements. Dip tanks are used for the vast majority of painted joist. There may be some slight differences when handling larger joist and girders, but the principle will remain the same. Joist and joist girders are dipped into a water-based or a solvent-based mix, then set aside to dry before they are taken to be stored in their designated areas until it is time to deliver the joist to the job site. With most steel joist and joist girders being dip coated, the coating is permitted to not be uniform and is permitted to include drips, runs, and sags. Compatibility of any additional coating, including fire protective coating applied over the standard shop paint, shall be the responsibility of the specifier and/or painting contractor. The painting process of joist and deck couldn't be more different from each other. Joists are bulkier and require the dip method for their painted coat, but deck arrives to the manufacturer in coals as we see here. This allows for a much smoother and consistent coating if the deck manufacturer applies the coating. When the coals are ready for fabrication, they run through a primer station, then cured as it travels up the conveyor and back down before being formed to a specific profile per the job requirements. The primer coat is intended to protect the steel for only a short period of exposure in ordinary atmospheric conditions and shall be considered an impermanent and provisional coating. Field painting of a primed deck is common, especially where the deck is exposed. For site storage, steel deck shall be stored off the ground with one end elevated to provide drainage, if water is present. It is highly recommended the deck be protected from the elements with a waterproof covering and ventilated to avoid condensation. In a perfect world, all deck will be stored in a covered building out of the elements to maintain its pristine condition. Most manufacturers store deck inside until loading for shipment. But as we know, we don't live in a perfect world. When deck is required to be stored in the elements, it's important to ensure this is properly done. This image follows the guidelines for site storage. Steel deck shall be stored off the ground with one end elevated to provide drainage. However, deck should be covered to prevent rain or other moisture from accumulating on the deck surface. In certain situations, extra precautions need to be taken into consideration. Knowing exactly what you have is an important part of making a plan. In this image, everything seems to be handled correctly except proper ventilation was not provided, allowing condensation to sit on black or bare deck. Thank you for joining us. Watch additional educational videos from the Steel Joist Institute at youtube.com/steeljoist. If you have additional questions, contact the Steel Joist Institute. Visit our website at steeljoist.org or contact a joist manufacturer. We are glad to assist you.